There's a hatchet sitting on my workbench right now. I bought it at a garage sale for $2. It was orange. Not painted orange, rusted orange. The kind of rust that flakes off when you touch it and leaves a stain on everything it contacts. I didn't sand it. I didn't grind it. I didn't use a single power tool on it. I mixed $8 of powder into a jar of warm water, brushed it on, and waited 45 minutes. What came back wasn't a clean hatchet. It was something better. The rust didn't disappear. It turned. Dark blue-black, bonded to the metal, harder than the steel underneath it. That coating is still on that hatchet today. 4 years later. Not a single spot of new rust. I'm not going to tell you this is some new discovery. It isn't. Roman blacksmiths were doing a version of this 2,000 years ago. Japanese swordsmiths figured it out independently. West African ironworkers figured it out independently. Medieval European blacksmiths figured it out independently. 4 separate civilizations on 4 continents arrived at the same conclusion on their own. That kind of convergence doesn't happen by accident. That's chemistry being obvious to anyone paying close attention. The reason you've never heard of it? The rust repair industry generates billions of dollars every year. Replacement parts, body panels, brake lines, suspension components that should have lasted decades. An $8 solution that stops rust permanently is not something that industry has any incentive to put on a billboard. So let me just show you how it works. You already know this reaction. You've seen it your whole life and just never had a name for it. That dark staining on your cast iron pan when you cook with acidic food. The blue-black color on antique ironwork that somehow survived centuries without crumbling. Medieval iron gall ink that has lasted 800 years on parchment. All of it is the same chemistry. Tannin meets iron. They react. Something stable forms. The compound is called tannic acid. It's found in oak bark, chestnuts, tea leaves, grape skins. It's the astringent sensation when you drink strong black tea. That slight drying feeling on your tongue. That's tannin binding to proteins. And when tannin meets iron oxide, which is what rust is, the tannin molecules bind to the iron ions and convert them into a new compound called ferric tannate. Blue-black. Insoluble in water. Bonded directly to the steel surface at the molecular level. It doesn't sit on top of the rust and peel away later. It transforms the rust itself into the protective layer. The disease becomes the cure. That's not a poetic description. That's the chemistry. Formally documented in 1813 by a French chemist named Henri Braconneau. And the Canadian Conservation Institute still publishes it today as a standard procedure for treating corroded iron artifacts. What museums use to protect objects they intend to last centuries is the same compound you're about to mix in a jar for $8. Here's what I want to tell you about the first time I used this. I had a bench full of tools that had gotten away from me, a mattock left out too many winters, trowels with serious surface rust, a draw hoe I'd had since my 20s that I couldn't bring myself to replace. I tried the usual things: wire brushing, WD-40, navel jelly straight from the tube. They helped temporarily. 6 months later, the orange crept back. Then I found the tannic acid chemistry. Mixed up a batch. Spent one afternoon going through every rusted tool on that bench. What happened next, I genuinely didn't expect. Watching the color shift in real time, from orange to dark gray to blue-black, right in front of you. It's slow enough to be calming. The quiet scrub of the wire brush, the color changing while you watch, the smell of the solution. Earthy, slightly sweet, like strong forest tea. That was 4 years ago. Every single tool is still on that bench. Not one of them has rusted beyond a faint surface patina. $8 of powder. One afternoon. 4 years of protection. Here's exactly how you build it. The parts list is genuinely this simple. Food-grade tannic acid powder. Search that exact phrase on Amazon. It's in the first 3 results. A 100-gallon bag runs $8 to $10 and treats roughly 40 square feet of rusted metal. That's an entire truck frame. a full set of camp tools, and you'll still have powder left over. Distilled water, not tap. Tap water contains chloride ions and chloride accelerates corrosion. A $1 jug from the grocery store. A foam brush or cotton rag. A wire brush or steel wool for prep. Total cost, $8 to $12. Now here's the upgrade most people skip, and it makes a significant difference. Add a small amount of phosphoric acid. It's sold as naval jelly at any hardware store for $2 or $3. Research published in Materials Science and Engineering found the optimal formula combines tannic acid with phosphoric acid. The phosphoric acid helps the tannin penetrate deeper into the rust layer and converts remaining rust into ferric phosphate, equally stable. Two chemistry pathways working simultaneously. Here's how it goes together. Mix 4 grams of tannic acid powder into 100 ml of warm distilled water. Stir until dissolved. The solution turns the color of strong black tea. Add a teaspoon of naval jelly. Stir it in. That's your formula. Take your wire brush or steel wool and knock off any loose flaking rust. You don't need to sand to bare metal. That's actually the wrong approach. The tannin needs existing rust to react with. Remove what's already detached. Leave the rest. Brush the solution evenly across the surface. Within 10 to 15 minutes, the color shifts, orange-brown to dark gray to blue-black. That's the conversion happening in front of you. Ferric tannate forming in real time. Let it dry completely, 2 to 4 hours. Then apply a second coat. The Canadian Conservation Institute specifically recommends multiple thin coats rather than one thick one. Thin coats fully dried between applications build a denser, more adherent layer. After the second coat cures, finish with whatever suits the application. For camp tools, axes, knives, boiled linseed oil, or melted beeswax. For vehicle frames and undercarriages, rubberized undercoat spray. For cast iron cookware, reseason in a 350-degree oven as normal. One honest note before we finish. This significantly reduces corrosion. It doesn't make metal immune under all conditions. In high chloride environments, sea air, heavy road salt, the layer will degrade over time and need reapplication. For most outdoor and tool use, that's a once-a-season touch-up taking 20 minutes using powder from a bag you bought years ago. The commercial rust converter products at your hardware store, $15 to $30 a bottle, list tannic acid as their primary active ingredient. Pull up the safety data sheet on any of them and there it is. Same chemistry, different label, 10 to 15 times the price. This knowledge was so universal that independent civilizations on 4 continents arrived at it separately. Roman leather workers discovered it by accident in tanning vats and told the blacksmiths. Japanese swordsmiths developed their own version using fermented persimmon juice. West African iron workers used acacia pods before the monsoon season. Iron Age bog bodies have been found in northern Europe with intact iron blades beside them, more than 1,000 years old, preserved not by any deliberate treatment, but by the naturally high tannin content of the peat water. Somewhere in the last 100 years, as the hardware store aisle filled with branded products, this knowledge stopped being passed down. The old knowledge just quietly sat on a shelf and gathered dust. An $8 bag in 45 minutes, and it's back in your hands. I don't know what brought you here. Maybe it's a tool that came back from a camping trip, Orange. Maybe it's the truck frame you've been putting off. Maybe you just like knowing how things actually work. Doesn't matter. The rust on whatever you're looking at right now is not a problem waiting for an expensive solution. It's a raw material waiting for the right chemistry. $8, 45 minutes, and the rust goes to work for you. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.